Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
All right. If anybody's there, let me know. I'm starting over here because the whole thing crashed and burned. If you're there, we'll start the show. It'll have to be a little truncated because I do have something happening pretty much right after 11 o'clock. But I'm not able to take calls. I just got the show up and running. Is everybody won't crash and burn? It's a pretty pathetic operation, as you now know. Anyway, I was saying before, I don't know if you heard any of it, that there are times when I can talk about the reality of, I want to tell you I'm getting the same thing that says poor reception, and I might go out again. So as soon as you can't hear me, let me know. I got a feeling this ain't gonna work. God damn it. I just want to say, I'll never see a bumper sticker that says shit happens and not think of what Trump said in the Oval Office. I think I'm going to be in and out, guys. I was just going to say, I don't know if this is going to work today. I see I'm in, I'm out. Fuck this. I'm just beyond. I want to say this. Here, kudos to ABC reporter Mary Bruce. No, I don't know if it's on. Listen, guys, whatever. You shouldn't have to fear for your life doing your job as a reporter. Of all the things, outrageous things that fucking asshole Donald Trump said yesterday in the Oval Office, the one that blew me away the most was calling the question that one of the questions he was asked, and I think in this regard it was about Epstein and the files, he said was insubordinate. Who the fuck does he think he is? There is no such thing as an insubordinate question. That's the journalist's job, to ferret out truth, to ask tough, I guess, insubordinate questions. But of course, it said everything about who this fucker is. He thinks he's the king. I don't know if we should call this a day. I see that, I don't know, guys. I'm just beside myself. I was going to say that I will, I'll never see one of those bumper stickers that says shit happens again without thinking of what he said about the ambush murder and dismemberment of another reporter. Stuff happens. Things happen. Is that what he said? I don't know. It is beyond belief that our fellow countrymen and women elected this vile being. I think it was somewhere in the New York Times today, but somebody wrote, political scientists and Middle East experts will study for years how the crown prince pulled this off. And what they're referring to is how you could murder and dismember an American journalist and then be greeted by the American president as if you're our greatest friend and ally, given more accolades and fancy schmancy treatment than any other head of state who's ever showed up. This from the country that the vast majority of terrorists who changed our lives forever on 9/11 came from. The praise he lavished on that murderer. So what you have a fucking rapist and a murderer sitting there. Those are the heads of state. And then we're all supposed to play a game like everything's normal? God. Somebody suggested that every time Trump opens his mouth, people should start screaming at him, "Quiet, piggy! Quiet, piggy!" Let's show him what insubordination really looks like. I really feel I can't take him anymore. I cannot. It's like watching somebody literally shit in your house, defile something you hold dear. And he does it every day, every minute of every day. And we're all supposed to pretend that somehow this is normal? There is nothing normal going on anymore. God. I mean, the whole... God. And, I mean, did anybody... I don't know. You want an insubordinate question, it should have been about the commingling of the murderer, and for all I know, Trump's a murderer too. Because anyone who thinks Epstein killed himself now is out of their minds. So you have these two murderers, and this pervert, and these lying, horrible humans. And did anyone ask about the money? Did anyone ask about what's really the reason they're really so palsy-walsy, at least Trump is the money. I guess somebody did ask the press secretary, and she, of course, lying through her teeth, said, "Neither the president nor his family have ever engaged or will ever engage in conflicts of interest." Conflicts of interest. Meanwhile, anyone who knows anything about how things have operated in this country and what was considered a scandal before this son of a bitch came on the scene, he has shattered every norm. Scholars of ethics and corruption in government are paralyzed by the open corruption. Just want to quickly hop, skip, and jump through some of the deals he's got going right now with the dismembering prince. Trump now is going to have branded property in one of Saudi Arabia's largest real estate developments. Understand, Trump branded property is how he makes billions of dollars doing nothing but allowing his vile name to be placed on a building. Licensing fees. One of the groups, I think it's the group that's doing that deal, paid him $22 million just last year. Trump right now, the one he's bought into now, has been allowed into, is a $63 billion project. The chair of the board of the project is the dismemberer himself. Also, Trump Tower, another one, planned for the coastal city of Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. And 2 projects have already been announced in Riyadh, the capital. In September, Trump Plaza development in Jeddah, which is a $1 billion project with premium residence and a Central Park-inspired green spine, don't ask me, is set to begin. The Saudis, own the LIV Gulf. They now are enriching Trump by making sure their tournaments are at Trump courses. And then there's Jared, of course. And he got $2 billion from Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund last year. And then just in September, he teamed up with them again to take a video game company, Electronic Arts, private. And that little transaction is valued at around $55 billion. Says here, if it goes all the way through, it would be the largest leveraged buyout ever. One government expert in ethics said this: these arrangements are not just ethically bankrupt, they fundamentally compromise U.S. foreign policy. And guys, it isn't just Saudi Arabia, as you know. They all belong behind bars. Remember what, in his first term, he got impeached for? Of course, impeached, but not convicted. I remember Mitch McConnell saying the courts will take care of it. I guess the second impeachment was sort of big, his attempt to overthrow the election. But wow, even after all of that, our fellow citizens found him more fit than Kamala Harris to be the president of this country. A crooked, white, murderous, vile being instead of a dark-skinned woman with no criminal history. I get to the point where I just don't feel I'm made to live in this filthy world. Williams asking, is it possible to have a press secretary further out of the loop than Carolyn Levitt? I don't know that she's out of the loop. She understands exactly what her job is. And she lies with such ease. And gets indignant. Gets indignant at insubordinate questions. She makes friggin' Sean Spicer look like an extraordinary public figure. Or Sarah Huckabee. Remember them? Oh, God. Do you know, I don't know that this thing that Trump said yesterday with the murderer and dismemberer sitting beside him, happily, smugly smiling. Trump said with, quote, Donald Trump, of the murderer sitting beside him. What he's done is incredible in terms of human rights. How do you live in a world like that? I mean, it is. I feel. I mean, if you're feeling like poor little Alice falling down the rabbit hole, you have every reason to. Because we know how things are supposed to be, and even how things were. They weren't perfect. There were crooks and there were bad guys. And there was underhanded dealing going on, I am sure. But come on. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. Things happen. Wow. Increasingly, I do want to say this. The people who seem to be standing up against him, I have said it before, and I'll say it again, are women. Just saying. The reporter yesterday, Mary Bruce. Even the 3 friggin' Republican women who helped force the Epstein files out and stood up to him. Those vile Boebert and Mace and what's her goddamn name? Green. Why? I just don't know. Hey, somebody said something to me interesting yesterday, and I'm afraid it landed. I've been watching the Ken Burns Revolutionary War thing, but I have found it increasingly, I mean, I can't do 2 hours at a time with it. And a friend last night, I think, finally told what she said hit me. And it is the reason I'm struggling with this Burns documentary. It's not that it's not, I'm sure, good and full of all kinds of information we need, and you know, he does a hell of a job. But everyone has the same feel, the same, you know, we know how he does it. So if I close my eyes, I you know, and sort of start nodding off, I could just as well be listening to his Civil War documentary. You know, the same music, the same kind of narration, the same, and it's like he's done so many, I can't take it anymore. I can't. It's starting to drive me crazy. And I'm sorry. That's not a good. I mean, that's how he does it. But we'd be better served if somebody else would teach us, who did it with a different soundtrack, a different way. Is there a way? I mean, please, every time that music starts up, I think, stop it! I am having trouble. So, just telling you. And the other thing that pisses me off is I want to know who the voices are I'm hearing. And so I actually made a point of, looking at the credits at the end. And they don't tell you. They just have this endless list of a gazillion actors, most of whom you know. I mean, big actors, stars, but they don't tell you who they voiced. And I don't have a good enough, I mean, I can tell a few of them, but I don't have a good enough ear. And then he even gets, my God, so I guess this guy named Peter Coyote is doing the general narration. And damn, if he just doesn't sound exactly like David McCullough, who's now dead, who did the Civil War and others. I don't know. It's the sound of it. There's a hell of a lot of information in there, which is good to know. But, man, I don't know. If my friend hadn't said what she said last night, I still would be struggling. But since she said it, I now at least know why. That is the reason. The Ken Burnsian way of American history. It's just, I don't know. And then, my God, there was a terrifying piece I read about how AI is, of course, already being used in documentary work, and how people who do documentaries are now very anxious about how documentaries in the future will create what looks like newsreel footage, what looks like headlines. In fact, the article says they already have. You're looking at a documentary and they'll show a newspaper headline, and it sure looks like a newspaper headline, the real deal. Nah. And so that whole, again, thing that I was talking about the other day of how do you live in a world where you can't trust anything you see or hear? How does a community, how do people function when there can be no trust and agreement? And I would argue that the answer is you can't. So anyway, here's, in this piece, it might have been the Washington Post, they talked about the fact that, remember, there was that video that came out of somebody throwing a big garbage bag out of a second floor White House window? And there were all kinds of, what the heck do you think was that? Given it's the Trump White House. And the press office said it was a contractor who's working in there, and the easiest way to get that out was to throw it out the window. But Trump said, nah, that didn't happen. Those windows don't open. That was AI. So who are you going to believe? And the article says, one of the problems we have with AI is no. This is what Trump said when he said it's AI. And then he said this, our liar in chief. One of the problems we have with AI is it's both good and bad. If something happens really bad, you just blame AI. But also they create things. So it works both ways. Okay, there's Trump actually saying something a little revealing and in fact correct. There's good stuff that comes out of AI and bad stuff. But what he says is you just blame AI. And in that world of AI, that phenomenon is called liar's dividend. That's a term that's been around for, I guess, 6 years. And it essentially is simple. Because we're becoming more aware of how easy it is to create fake videos, convincing fake videos, it means that people who claim real videos are fake are now becoming more persuasive too. If they're caught on video saying something, doing something, but they claim the video was AI, well, we're more likely to believe them. Or at least be doubtful. Which is to say, AI, the liar's best friend, the liar's dividend. Every video is now Schrodinger's video. It's both real and not real at the same time. And you cannot live like that. I mean, in a cohesive community of people. Oh, God. Hey, did you see that J.D. Vance got convicted? I don't know. Is this getting any play? He did. He's going to jail for 2 years. No, not the vice president. But a guy in Michigan whose name is J.D. Vance. In fact, he has the J and the D stand for exactly the same, James Donald Vance. This guy's 67, Grand Rapids, and he's going to be doing time. He's convicted of, not sure exactly what, but of guess what? Threatening J.D. Vance. For sullying his good name. No, he apparently made a number of posts on social media vowing to kill J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. And he's going to jail. I'd be pissed at J.D. Vance if that was my name too. I mean, I just said these guys are sullying our country, our people's house, everything they touch. But if you had the same damn name. Now, the J.D. Vance who's going to jail had a public defender. And the public defender attributed his crime to mental health issues, and specifically that he was not properly toilet trained. So you can say and be absolutely correct in saying what she said, his lawyer. J.D. Vance still enjoys wearing diapers. Just saying. Oh, God. Can't make it up. So, man, that unanimous, oh no, there was one guy, vote in the House, and now it's just going to right through the Senate and right to Trump's desk. And you know what that means? They're shredding stuff left, right, and center. I mean, it's still, I'm starting to agree with those who always say, this guy, you can't get him. You just can't take him down. Not yet. So the guy who voted, the one vote that didn't, you've heard of him before. The no vote, the only no vote about releasing the Epstein files was this jerk from Louisiana. Man, Louisiana, what the hell's going on with you? You are sending America some of your finest, huh? Man, we've come to know the guy you sent who then became the Speaker of the House, and he as sleazy and vile a creep, a lying son of a bitch, spineless creep. Well done, voters of Louisiana. And the guy who voted against it, Clay Higgins, is another just vile being who the good people of Louisiana saw fit to send as their representative in Washington, D.C. He's an anti-Semite. He's a racist. I know this because he supported the presidential bid of Pat Buchanan and David Duke's campaign to be the governor of the state of Louisiana. David Duke, leader of the Ku Klux Klan. Yeah. Higgins voted yes on that. He was also a police officer once and was accused of beating a black man who was handcuffed. I guess he managed not to kill him. Anyway, another vile being. You know, J.D. Vance's name was not his name. J.D. Vance didn't have the name J.D. Vance until he got married. I don't know about his toilet training, but obviously he was harmed by his childhood. And we know he did not have an easy one. He's exploited it. God knows. But his name at birth was J.D., I don't know, I forget who, something, Bowman? And, his mother kept marrying people, and then they would take, and then she married a guy named Hamill, and he became J.D. Hamill? They even changed his middle name then, but they kept the D because he was already being called J.D., but he went from Donald to David. I'm sorry. Having your name, which is your identity, be so fluid as a child would be very, very, not good in terms of your psychological development. And maybe that's why he's able to just sort of keep recreating himself in any way he needs to get whatever it is he's after. So obviously, I guess his book, he talks about all this. His name kept changing. I don't know how many permutations it went through, but right after he got to Yale Law School, he started coming out to people that he had all these name changes. I don't know what his name was when he went to law school, but it wasn't J.D. Vance. And after he graduated from law school, he married Usha, and they both then changed their last name to Vance. Was Vance his mom's name? That's gotta fuck you up, seriously. No wonder he still wears a diaper. Jesus H. Yeah, so I saw a clip from a House committee hearing yesterday. The only reason I saw it is because you see what, again, the House of Representatives has become, which is a clown show. And because it's a clown show, the Democrats, who have no power in it, have used their time to do their own show. And it's just, the whole thing is so sad. I don't know what the committee is, but they were actually having a hearing on a bill that some idiot Republican had put in that would allow for the immediate deportation of any immigrant who harmed a dog. I'm not saying anyone who harms a dog, I'm saying throw them out too. I'm for that. But you think of all the stuff they need to be doing. This is just being done to, again, get at immigrants. So I guess they were arguing back and forth, and one of the Democrats on the committee, I think his name was Goldman, actually said that he did not disagree with the intent of this bill, but he thought that it should be properly named, as bills are now. You'll remember, of course, the big, beautiful bill. So they now have to have names, like J.D. Vance. And so Goldman, in the clip I saw, was suggesting this. He just proffered it to the committee. Given the nature of this, because who doesn't love dogs? I do think, though, that the bill should be named the Christie Nome Canine Relief Act. Yep. Now, it's okay with me to have people remind us that she more than harmed a dog, she fucking blew away her own dog. Perfectly healthy. Oh. You cannot make these people up. Okay, so he became James David Vance in 2013 and goes by JD, which he did as a child. I mean, he always had James and then a D name. But I guess he was Donald, and then he lost after one of the fathers, one of the husbands of the mother. Oh my God. Yeah. God. Did you see that wonderful story about the flamingo? You must have. Did I tell this story yesterday? Dear God. You know, I'm starting to freak out because I know I've told people this story because I think it's so wonderful. And then I can't remember, did I tell you or did I tell somebody else? But the flamingo story very quickly is there was a juvenile flamingo, like 4 months old, born in captivity at a British zoo, and its name was Frankie, and Frankie went missing. And nope, they thought, what the hell? How could he go missing? Because they clipped one of his wings so that he couldn't fly off. And couldn't fly the coop. And they don't have any video of how the hell he managed it to fly the coop. But damn if Frankie, with his clipped wing, a clipped wing is supposed to keep a bird from taking off. And what they're thinking is, because you've seen birds, especially young birds, who are like, what are these wings here for? What the hell? And they're sort of flapping them and jumping up and down and flapping and jumping up and down. And they figured that Frankie must have been doing that. And he might have done like a bigger jump and maybe coincided with a gust of wind or something that lifted him. And he's still flapping that wing, even the clipped one. And damn if he didn't go over the fence. And he just stayed in the air. Because you can have a clipped wing and you can fly. And damn if Frankie wasn't found in France. That bird with the clipped wing flew the coop and landed in France. And I just say, way to go, Frankie. I mean, at least he's known freedom and flight. Two things that should not be denied a bird. Although France is not exactly a native habitat of flamingos. So there is concern how he'll do. But they're going to let him. People are going to try to keep an eye on him. But pictures have been taken of him over there in France, and he looks healthy. And the hope is that he'll manage somehow to find. There are a few wild flocks of flamingos in Europe. Now, how the hell is he Europe's a big place. How the hell is he supposed to maybe find them? I don't know. And there is even a flock in the south of France, but he's north right now. Anyway, Frankie the flamingo. Just 4 months old. I love that. Oy. Okay, real quickly. Serious. Federal Judge Ludwig, who minces no words and has said unequivocally that he says if we don't realize it, that Donald Trump is intending to be king. And Ludwig wrote a piece for The Atlantic, and let me read a little bit of it to you. Donald Trump has seized authoritarian control over the federal government and demanded the obedience of the other powerful institutions of American society, universities, law firms, media companies. The question weighing heavily on the minds of many Americans is whether Trump will subvert next year's midterm elections or the 2028 presidential election to extend his reign. And then the sober conservative Judge Ludwig says it seems abundantly clear that he will hold on to the office at any cost, including America's ruin. Just saying. And he goes on to the litany of what he has done, any of which, if you read, any of which are such slam dunk, impeachable offenses, it blows your mind that our government has been unable to hold this SOB to account. He has openly sought unchecked power. He's taken military, he's used the military against our own citizens. If you watch the Ken Burns Revolutionary War thing, that was the last straw for a lot of the colonists. Turning the military on them. And Ludwig reminds us, this is the man who, when asked a question, don't you need to uphold the Constitution as president? Actually answered, I don't know. And the man who just this August said, I can do anything I want to do. Yeah. Ludwig says, for anyone who doubts that Trump is contemplating a monarchical reign, consider how very far down that road he already is. The usurpation of Congress, extraordinary. And pretty much this tainting of the Supreme Court, which leaves him last one standing. So, Ludwig says he is clearly willing to subvert an election in order to hold on to the power he craves. And he is now much more fully enabled to undermine future elections. No one can prevent him from remaining president for a constitutionally prohibited third term, except us. Us. The people. Who, in that Constitution he's never read, clearly hold ultimate power. So, listen to Judge Ludwig. And Russ Bell says, Lynn, you've lived longer in Appalachia than J.D. Vance ever did. I bet I have. You're right. I always called it, I'm calling it Appalachia now, which I didn't used to. I think I called it Appalachia. But the Ken Burns doc calls it Appalachia, so now I find myself doing the same. Because who am I to argue with Ken Burns? Okay, somebody says it's Josh Brolin who voices George Washington. Yeah, I mean, I've gotten some of these. I went looking. But there's a whole... Why don't they just fucking tell us? They're not. I dare you to find... They list all those actors and then don't tell you who they're voicing. Except for a few. Josh Brolin is doing George Washington. Jeff Daniels is doing Thomas Jefferson. Paul Giamatti, because that's his thing, does John Adams. And Michael Keaton is Benedict Arnold. And Mandy Patinkin gets my favorite, Benjamin Franklin. So, but I can't. I'm not good enough at voice recognition to tell who they are. Like I see Meryl Streep supposedly is there. What's she doing? Laura Linney's there. Which one? Who? I don't know. Whatever. And I hope I'll manage to watch the whole thing just to get some facts about the founding of this country as it quite clearly enters the most dangerous moment in its history, with the possible exception of the Civil War. And in fact, who the hell knows? All right, that's it. For somehow, I guess this thing stabilized in the last. I'm really sorry about this. And who the hell knows what's going to happen tomorrow? God damn it. All right, I'm out of here, I think, because I have to. I have to go. See you tomorrow, perhaps, maybe, if the gods so will it.